may sound like a very uninspiring detail, but how many of you guys have heard of a brand, Cobbler Union? Admittedly, this is one that I'm not as familiar with until today. Cobbler Union, in full disclosure, reached out to me to create this collaboration and asked if I would pick out a pair of shoes from their website, Goodyear Welted shoes, to review, give some of my feedback, and just enjoy the shoes. That's what we're going to do. Here is the box of the Cobbler Union. Very kind of standard, kind of par for the course for what you would expect in this price range. It does have a very nice, simple, subtle kind of overall look and aesthetic. And it's got a nice kind of drawer style opening here. So let's go ahead and get these opened up. I do like the drawer style shoebox. So let's get these started. As you can see, this is the Charles boot, which is a hole cut-esque style boot. This is in a brown waxed suede from the Charles F. Stead tannery out of England. It's got a Dainite sole. This is on one of their boot lasts, which is the 358. Let's go ahead and take a look at the boots, and I'll share a little context shortly as to how I got to this pair, because this was not my first choice. They were also kind enough to include a few extras here. You can see these are their standard branded Cobbler Union cedar shoe trees. Definitely a nice add-on. Now let's take a look at the boots here, and we'll get the shoe trees inserted. Before we get the shoe trees in here, we can take a look at the lining and the insole. Very Cobbler Union-esque, which is this quilted pattern on the insole, on the heel pad. It's very acceptable quality veg tan lining, nothing overly supple, overly soft, but I do take notice on just how clean the lining is. There's not a lot of stitch points on there, which may sound like a very uninspiring detail, but it does lend itself to be more comfortable. The less stitching, the less joint of the lining construction, the less seams that you may have digging into any hot spots on your foot. All right, so there we have it. So this is the Charles boot. This is a hole cut style boot. And what I mean by that is this lacing pattern you'll see from a lot of higher end makers where this pattern piece it's all one piece of leather. So because of that, it's almost like a reverse derby, where instead of the rear quarters overlapping the vamp is actually overlapping the rear quarter. A very interesting and unique design, which is something that always does catch my eye. I think it complements the style of this boot pretty well. There's not an overly robust toe. It's not overly chiseled or overly round. Probably a pretty good casual pairing for this leather, which brings me to the next one, the leather. This is a dark brown waxy suede from the Charles F. Stead tannery out of England, one of the most well-regarded tanneries when it comes to a leather of this nature. See if we can kind of get some up-close views of the texture in this leather. And to finish it off, we've got Dainite studded soles. Overall, like this is, I have very positive impressions of the style of this boot. The quality, the outsole, the welt finishing. It's got fudging. The fudging stops as it gets to the 270-degree mark. You can see a bit of beveling or narrowing even around the waist. Nothing too elegant or too refined that kind of kicks too high above its weight class, but overall just very, very well done. From what I can see here, everything looks intact. I'll cut into an earlier video I did, but I didn't have the chance to publish it, and that is because I started with a brown waxy suede penny loafer, their Peter loafer, and I had to return that because amongst initial unboxing of it, it was damaged. So I sent that back. There was a bit of back and forth. There was a bit of not pushback about getting a replacement, but just like stock issues, a little miscommunication with the inventory on their warehouse, what they had available, what they didn't have available. But ultimately, once they got that settled, I had to follow up a few times. But ultimately, I went with a boot in that same leather because I was very intrigued by that style of leather, something I haven't had before, and I'm really excited to check these out. The last item they had included is this Saphir involver spray, but I think for this type of leather, it is probably the right way to go, and a pretty fantastic choice to include that. So I do not know if typically the shoe trees or if these are going to be included in any of those purchases. I'm sure if you check the website or if I check the website, I'll elaborate on that and provide some more specifics as to what is or is not included. Let me know if you guys have any experiences with either this leather, which is probably the most curious thing that I have, but then also with Cobbler Union in general. I've heard positive things, but curious to hear what the community's general consensus of this brand is. Excited to kind of put some miles on these, see how the leather and the overall quality of this build holds up, especially with the penny lifer mishap in mind, because I think if there's, one quality thing that happens, if it's kind of repeated 2 for 2, that would definitely be something I would want to make a bigger focus on. But stay tuned for the next video where I'll kind of speak on the fit, the finish, and the takeaways of breaking these guys in. Thanks for watching. If you guys want to see more unboxing videos, check out up here. If you're interested in more videos about my favorite leather shell cordovan, check out the videos up here. Thanks.